Most of you know me, but if not, I'm Professor Larson. I am one of the faculty in the nutrition department here, and I direct the undergrad program. So any of you that have questions about what either of the degrees look like, I am going to be that go-to person. For today, we're going to record this panel so you have access to it, and we're going to jump right in. And I'm going to ask each panelist to introduce yourself, tell us your pronouns if you would like to share those, and what your current position is. And I'm going to go from who I see first, which is Julia.
Hi, my name is Julia Long. I am the performance dietitian for the Houston Rockets. I go by she, her, and yeah, that's all.
Francesca, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Francesca. I went by Jessie in college, but I also want to apologize. I'm losing my voice a little bit today, but my pronouns are she, her, and I am a research program coordinator at Maine Health Institute for Research.
Thank you. Alex, if you could close us out with your intro.
Sure. My name is Alex. My pronouns are she, her. I'm currently a consulting food nutrition dietitian. Previously, I have a lot of experience working in public relations, but now I'm consulting on my own.
Thank you all so much. And before I jump into a couple other questions, if you could also tell us when you graduated from URI and whether your degree was in nutrition or dietetics, so everyone will have a really good sense of who we're talking to. We can go in the same order.
So I started in URI in 2010 or 11, I believe. I didn't end up graduating from URI. I transferred to Arizona State University after 2 years at University of University of Rhode Island. And but I was there for 2 years, and I graduated from ASU in 2015.
So I was at the University of Rhode Island from 2016 to 2020, and I really only spent 2 years in the nutrition department, but I graduated with a nutrition degree, so not dietetics.
Sarah, did that change? Because I could have sworn my degree was nutrition and dietetics.
You're right, Alex. Your degree in nutrition and dietetics. A couple of years ago, we split them. Now we have 2 separate bachelor's degrees.
Okay, so I graduated in 2009. So I was starting to black out. I was like, did I not remember that? So my degree was nutrition and dietetics, and I did actually minor in kinesiology also.
Well, thank you very much. And now I would love to hear from each of you. If you could tell us a little bit about what your career journey has been like since graduation, whether or not you went to grad school, positions, other things that you've done, where did you start, and how did you get to where you are now? And I think to make it easy, we'll just keep the same order.
So I forgot to mention my degree was nutrition and dietetics. And so, yes, when like I said, I started at University of Rhode Island. And when I transferred to ASU, I got an internship with the Chicago Cubs at their spring training facility. And I did that throughout college. And that's how I learned that I liked sports. I originally thought I wanted to do child nutrition because I really like nutrition education. But once I had an opportunity to work in sports, I learned there's a lot of nutrition education in sports, which I really liked. So I worked there at a fuel station for spring training, every spring training for about 2 or 3 years. And I was about to graduate and I needed a job, and I wanted this job to be long-term and year-round. So I pitched to the Chicago Cubs. I said, this is how nutrition would benefit the athletes at their training facility year-round. So they accepted it and gave me the job. So that was kind of the plan for about 8 years. I would see and have an idea of how to expand the program, pitch a job to the Chicago Cubs, and then they'd accept it. And so until I was the head of minor league nutrition, and then I became the head of nutrition for the Chicago Cubs. still based out of Arizona, but now is overseeing Major League and Minor League. In that time, I also did my dietetic internship and got my master's. And then I applied for the Houston Rockets position 3 years ago, and I got that. So I moved to Houston, Texas, and I've been the Houston Rockets performance dietitian for 3 seasons now. The season just ended yesterday, and I travel full-time with the team.
So after URI, I actually applied to Tufts University for my master's degree. So that was in COVID actually. So like I did like all of my studies like at home and all, but I did a dual master degree program. So I got my MS in biochemical and molecular nutrition and my MPH, so Master's of Public Health in behavioral sciences and health communication. Um, those two masters are very, very different. But in my head, I kind of saw them like kind of like meshing together because I really wanted to know the science of nutrition, you know, what it does for the body and how it affects your health. And then I also wanted to learn a little bit more about like community nutrition and nutrition interventions, how you get this messaging out to individuals in the community. So that was a 2.5 year program. So I finished my master's in August of 2020. And then I did a food as medicine program. I participated as a student intern on this project in the evaluation side of the program at Maine Health Institute for Research. And that's how I ended up in the position that I am in today as a program coordinator. But yeah.
So after I graduated from URI, I went on to complete my dietetic internship at New York Presbyterian Hospital. And at the same time, I had started the master's program at NYU. New York Presbyterian has 2 start dates. So since I started the second start date there, it gave me a chance to start my master's and then finish it once my internship was complete. From there and during that time, I really started to explore the world of social media and media. It was, early on in the kind of Twitter phase. And that gave me a really kind of important opportunity to see what registered dietitians were doing in the media and social media space. From there, as I became a registered dietitian, I started to contact media, pitch myself as a media expert, and network with other media dietitians to get a better understanding of what they were doing, how to build those relationships, and how to be that expert that was being quoted in articles. My first role out of there, I decided there wasn't necessarily one role that would be the best fit for me in this kind of new communication space. It was much less prevalent then. So I started doing work, at a student health center at a university in the area, counseling students. I also interned with communications registered dietitian, learning kind of the ins and outs of PR media, as well as in a community outreach program where I went to elementary schools and taught nutrition. From there and from networking with more, companies, more media dietitians, I was able to connect with a dietitian that worked at a public relations agency. I started consulting with them, and that led to a full-time job where I was for about 10 years before now making the switch to consulting.
3 very different paths. I love that we've got a really great variety of what people are using their degrees with today. So since everything is so different, could you each kind of walk us through what does a typical day look like for you in your position?
Yeah, I'll walk you through a game day that's kind of the most exciting. So on a game day, we'll get to work at 8 a.m. and there will be breakfast the chefs have made for the team. And I'm just encouraging athletes to eat certain things. If they're on a weight gain plan, I just encourage certain items. It's very delicate. You don't want to be the food police, but you just want to be excited about food and recommend it for their performance. make sure everyone's eating breakfast. It's a good time to connect with athletes, see how they slept. Maybe they're like, I didn't sleep at all last night. And you're like, yikes, like, let's figure something out. Let's get you some matcha and a banana or something. And then they're on a weight loss plan, making sure that their plate reflects that. And then I'll do hydration testing. We have a saliva test for them that tests their hydration levels. And then also I make the pre-game drinks. So this was done pre-season. So we get blood work, and also based on other goals, there's certain supplement drinks that the athletes drink. So I'll make all those and put them in the fridge so they're ready for the game. Then we have shoot around, and I'm monitoring hydration, especially for the guys that are heavy sweaters, and just, keeping an eye on things, seeing if they're sweating a lot at shoot around, we need to really hydrate before the game. And then we get a little bit of a break from like noon until 4. During that time, I'll menu plan, follow up on the menus for the upcoming road trips, the juice deliveries. So just monitor my emails and stuff like that. Then we go back to the arena at 4 o'clock. I hand out the supplement drinks, connect with the athletes again. Maybe I'll get a delivery, put stuff away, organize, and get the kits ready for the game, where I'll have different supplement drinks again, matcha and bananas, fruit, stuff like that. And then the game starts, and they run about 2 hours. So during the game, I'm really monitoring hydration and energy levels. And based on what's going on, or we'll do like during timeouts, the athletes will communicate with me. They're not, the point is like the game's going on, and we want to keep them at top performing shape the whole game. And a lot's going on in their body. They, are sweating a lot. So just, giving them hydration throughout the game, giving them a carb source if they need that, or caffeine if we need that. And then after the game, I set up recovery drinks, tart cherry, and sleep drinks for the guys that need help sleeping, and protein shakes based off of everyone's goals. And then if it's a road game, we get on an airplane and we fly to the next city and arrive at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, unload the truck, go to bed, wake up at 9 the next day. I check on breakfast if we're on the road, and it's a little different on the road, but kind of similar. So, and then do it all over again.
If I could just ask a follow-up, what kinds of things do you give them for carbs during the game?
So I mentioned bananas a lot because I love bananas, because they're packaged by nature. They kind of have a long shelf life. So bananas and clementines are my favorite. And clementines are nice. They're small. I can have in my pockets. Those are really my preferred options. If I need a shelf stable option, especially on the road or something, even though we have catering, but like especially on the road, I like That's It bars. They have like really small ones and larger ones, and it's just apples and another dried fruit, and then also applesauce pouches. Love applesauce pouches. And then also you can do a honey shot, like a shot of honey. There's like travel honey packets. Those are good as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Francesca, what do your days look like?
So since I work in research, I work like a 9 to 5 sort of job. I also work remote too because I'm based in Boston. But basically, like my job, it's mostly around nutrition, but there's also other things that I do too, just, for the research department. So like I'll be the person who will help like screen and recruit patients for research studies. I'll read a lot of literature for staff scientists and things like that. Currently, some of like the nutrition related projects that I'm working on right now, one of the big things that I'm working on right now is that I'm working with a bunch of other departments that are already putting on like nutrition education and nutrition intervention projects, and kind of thinking about a research strategy to, what questions can we ask from this project that's already being implemented in the community? What kind of metrics can we learn or kind of like use to learn from this project and things like that. So that's been a really big like ongoing project that I'm working with my supervisor on, which is really exciting. And then for the food as medicine project, like I said, I worked on the evaluation side of this project, and I helped put together some surveys, some evaluation plans, and things like that. We're wrapping up our second year right now too, so we're kind of getting through the reporting side, where we are putting reports together and sending them off to our funders, other organizations and collaborators, who are kind of learning from our project right now as well. Sometimes like here and there, I'll enter some of the data from the Food as Medicine project into a database so we can analyze it as well, because it is an ongoing project. And then another really interesting thing that I just started last week, or I think it was the week before, is I'm working on a nutrition education systematic review with a couple colleagues from Tufts. So right now I'm in the process of just reading a whole bunch of title abstracts, and then we'll move on to data extraction for that. That's kind of what my day-to-day looks like, along with other small side projects.
So I'll kind of give you an overview of, what a typical day is like, say full-time in kind of public relations, communications, now consulting. It's kind of all of these things, but in between being a mom and changing diapers too. So, full-time, say public relations, communications, every single day is different. And if you think a day is going to go a certain way, you can count on it being different because things come up. A lot of the ways we start the day would be looking at the, say, nutrition news for the day. What are the stories? Are there new studies out? How is the media talking about nutrition? Also, who's being included in those articles? Are they registered dietitians, other professionals, other not professionals? Taking a look at the media landscape. And then, from there, it really varies on what communications projects are going on. So some of the projects could range from helping create testimonies for the dietary guidelines, or creating a press release about a new health research study. Even things like creating statements about tariffs, things you might think you'd never ever do. But then also things that are surprising that tap into what you've learned in your nutrition program. So helping to create and oversee the creation of school food service recipes, needing to know the ins and outs of, food service and HACCP and all of that, scoop sizes, when reviewing recipes and making sure that they're accurate, that they'll be understood and usable by, say, school food service professionals. What else? Helping companies with their corporate nutrition strategy, helping to contact key opinion leaders, scientists to talk about particular topics, and even things like helping to plan conferences or events, podcasts, webinars, different events or educational opportunities that registered dietitians can earn CEUs for, so like webinars or partnerships with dietetic practice groups. I could go on and on. Social media contests, reviewing recipes, reviewing food photography. It really, there's so many aspects of PR and communications, and it keeps things always interesting and always moving, and always different.
Thank you. I think it's pretty clear how the things that you learned in your undergrad from a nutrition standpoint relate to your current positions. They're very heavily entwined in what you're doing. But how are some of the other maybe skills or experiences or opportunities, things that you did as an undergrad, how are those things helping you, or how did they prepare you for the position that you're in? And this can be, anyone can answer. We don't have to keep in the same order. You can just jump in whatever works for you.
Well, for me, because I worked while I was in school in the Cubs internship, and I got fortunate to have that, and it was very difficult, and doing that with school really helped prepare me for the workforce. And I mean, it turned into my job, and that's really what I would recommend to students. I think you guys have so many more opportunities now than I had, just with like remote work and everything like that. But just but even like learn something in school, you learn something in a food lab, you really like that. Find a job related to that where you could do it 1 hour a week and actually see if you like that in the workforce. So kind of doing that and using those skills that I learned in classes, and then trying to find it in the workforce and in my job, just to see if I actually liked it, is something that really worked for me. And it was really the nutrition education piece. Whenever we would have to do an assignment where we made like a nutrition pamphlet or a little flyer, I was so excited, and I had so much fun with that. So learning that that's what brought me joy and what I got so excited about, and then doing that for the athletes and seeing it benefit their performance, was what really it really worked for me and helped me find a career that I love so much.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And that the actual experience, the internships, the, volunteering with different, say, organizations or events, I think putting yourself in that position and finding the opportunities to, try out those roles are just so key to seeing what you like, because, there is a leap from, being in the classroom to actually being in the field. And it's a really important tool to, one, get the experience, but see, this is what I love to do. Here are my strengths. Here's how I can make a difference. So I think that was tremendous. I felt like another thing that was so important that I got from school and education was learning how to get the answer for things, or learning how to solve something that you don't know. And you learn a ton of things, but there's such strength in knowing that I don't need to retain every single piece of information. What I need to do is I need to know how to research, look up studies to get the answer. Or if somebody asks me to do something I've never done before, these are the steps that I need to take to figure out how to do something that I haven't done yet. I think that was something really that school helped me learn, in addition to, of course, the knowledge, but the practice of how to learn something that you don't already know.
I definitely have to agree about like kind of like learning what you think you want to do. So for example, I worked in so many, or I volunteered in so many research labs in the Department of Nutrition. I think I was in like 4 or 5 different ones because, I knew I love nutrition, but I didn't know exactly like what I really wanted to do in nutrition. So for example, like I worked in Dr. Emin's lab in community nutrition. I worked in Dr. Melanson's lab, in her energy balance lab, Dr. Oak's lab. Like I really tried to like, like dip my toes and to figure out what I wanted to do. Um, and I think that the research side, like kind of just um getting like a taste of that would be one of like my biggest advice, I guess, pieces for you. Um, I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm in research right now, but for me at least, it was a really great, like rewarding experience to kind of see the different types of research that are out there, like other people's interests, or other like your classmates' interests and things like that. Um, I would also add to that, if you could, definitely do some volunteer work outside of school, outside of research, anything outside of URI, honestly, because I think that, it serves a dual purpose for impact in the community and then impact for yourself. So, for example, while I was in grad school, I did some volunteer work at the Greater Boston Food Bank. So I work there now, also, or like I still volunteer there now, and help package meals for individuals in the Eastern Massachusetts area. And it's like outside of like what I do for my job, but it's also something really great to that I've learned about myself that I really like to do, in terms of like nutrition and like the community and things like that. Um, but I also think just like making like really great connections with the professors and like your classmates is also just an invaluable thing to have as you graduate, or as the closer you get to graduation.
Most of the students that are here on the call today or in class are first and second year students. Some are not, but most of them are first and second years. So what is something that you wish you knew or experienced or did during your time as an undergrad that you would like to share with these students that still have lots of time to do some of those things?
Yeah, I'll say two things. One is kind of run on of what everyone's saying, but really the work experience is what helped me. And your grades are very important. And I do have to say, I didn't have the best grades. And I want to say that because I want to speak to the students that might be struggling. And I would see my friends get A's easy, and I would study for hours and I'd get a C, be happy I got a C, but it was really hard for me, and I didn't have anyone to compare myself to, and I felt like a failure. And I was told to change my major. I was told that I would never be a dietitian, but I knew in my heart that was going to be the case. And so I wish someone would have told me that I was, it was going to work out. Luckily, I had that within myself and I had the confidence and I knew it was going to happen. But that's really how I learned I need to add something else to make myself different. And that's why I need to do the work experience. You're going to work 5 times as hard if you don't have good grades. Like, it's, trust me, a lot easier to have good grades. I'm dyslexic. I just struggled. And I did have professors that worked with me. It was just something that was just what the cards dealt for me. I also took the RD exam multiple times, and I want to share that with people because I had dietitians ask me, why do you keep taking it? You're not passing. And I was like, I'm never quitting. What are you talking about? I also would have been a lot cheaper if I would have passed the first time, but I didn't. But guess what? I still have my dream job. I have one of 28 jobs in the world, and I'm one of 6 people that travel with a professional basketball team. So it all does work out. Your path is a lot more linear if your grades are good. But I mean, it's not that I didn't learn the information. They just weren't, it wasn't working out for me to get straight A's. But I still went and got my master's. I still went on and passed the RD exam, but pairing that with work experience. And, sometimes maybe my grades weren't as good because I was working a lot, but it all did work out for me. And then I did see some of my fellow students that just did school, and they also ended up struggling to find a job, even though they had really good grades. Not to say that that's gonna be the case for everyone, but just the best answer is get good grades and find work experience and do both and learn how to balance it. And even when you have a job, you're gonna have to balance other things too. So learning that balance early and is what is really gonna help you out. And another thing is, don't wait for wait for an opportunity to come to you, or you're looking for, now you might be looking for volunteer opportunities, and you might say, oh, there are none, or a paid internship or unpaid internship. You might notice that there are none. You can literally make one up. Message someone and say, trust me, professionals need help. I needed a lot of help. I needed an intern, and the Rockets were saying, no, we're not gonna get you an intern. There was a student who reached out to the right chain of people at the Rockets, and guess what? In December, I got an intern. I couldn't get me an intern. She got me the intern because she reached out to the right people. And I'm like, you go, girl, because that's how I got all my jobs. Almost every job I had wasn't a job until I presented it and kind of created the job. So look in an area that you want to work. I mean, volunteering is a great idea, but you can also volunteer for a billionaire. It doesn't have to be like a nonprofit organization. You can give free work to anybody, and a lot of people accept free work. So as a student, you're in a really great position because it's kind of hard for people to say no to free work. But once you show them what you can do, that could be a job lined up for you, because hiring is very scary. People don't know. This is a tough job market, as I've heard. And so people don't know your work ethic or how you're going to work for them. So offering free labor to I don't know, organize their emails, create a nutrition education, something, just take something off their plate, allows you to get your foot in the door to build that relationship. Because literally, I mean, your grades are important. Become a dietitian. Please do that if that's what you want to do. But when it comes to the job force, relationships and what people think of you is a huge part of your job. So learning that as well and working on that early is just going to help you. And anyone who's worked for me, I'm helping them years later and I see job opportunities, every intern I have, I'm messaging them, sending it to them. And so because we had a good connection and they worked really hard for me for sometimes 3 months, like not even that long, but we have that connection forever. So doing that early, I would really, I wish I did it even earlier, but I did it as a junior and it worked out.
Thank you so much for really talking about how it doesn't have to be a linear path, and that just because you're not getting the best grades that there have ever been, that you're not going to get to where you want to be. I think that that's really valuable for students to hear. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I don't want to take away from Francesca or Alex, so please feel free to chime in and add anything that you wish you might have known when you were an undergrad.
Yeah, so, to build on to what Julie was saying, it's one, finding those experiences and then networking for sure. I think that while I was at URI, I spent a lot of time really, getting into the labs, getting involved in data entry for the research projects going on, building relationships with the professors, which all was like tremendous and valuable, and built those skills of networking and getting in front of people and building those relationships that, I almost wish I had done more of it while I was at URI. But definitely, you have a lot of opportunity to do that there. But then, as you're stepping into your career, finding the opportunities to put yourself in front of the people that you want to, one, learn from, or that you want to think of you when an opportunity comes up. So like Julia said, when there's a great opportunity, she thinks of the people that she's worked with that did a fantastic job. That's so key in, getting your face and your name and your voice out there. So really finding those opportunities to just build relationships and get yourselves in front of more people. One of the things that I did when I was a student, I'm still at Rhode Island, I think. So I got myself to FNCE, the Food and Nutrition Conference. I knew I needed to get in front of more people, learn from the education sessions, but really network. I got myself there as inexpensively as possible, staying at a particular professor's apartment so that I could go to the conference and get myself in front of more people. I volunteered for a media event that was going on. So every single person that had to check in, I was right there to introduce myself, say hello to them, and build that relationship. And I think all of that FaceTime, whether it's digital, in person, is all really key. And starting that early to talk to those people is key too. You have all that opportunity in front of you.
I definitely have to agree with that too, especially what you said about like, opportunities and things like that, and like jumping on them. Or kind of like if you see an opportunity, just like thinking about it, I guess. I want to just give an example for something that I did in my junior and senior year while I was at URI. So there was like an undergraduate research grant that like there was like an announcement that came out or something, and I was already working in Dr. Melanson's lab with a grad student. And I said, like, when I saw the announcement, I asked Dr. Melanson if she would be interested in, helping me with a research project that I could use as like my senior project, I guess, for credit also. But and luckily she said yes. I was able to do like a really big research project there in my senior year, which was really great. But this example is just to, I guess like emphasize like opportunities that kind of like present itself. If you jump on it, like you never know what might happen. And because of this research project with Dr. Melanson and some of the other grad students that worked with me on this, networking and making those connections is also really important. And like Alex said, like I kind of almost wish that I did more networking and connecting with other professors and also grad students too, because I would say, while I was an undergraduate student, I think connecting with the grad students is also really valuable and helpful. I still keep in touch with some of the grad students when I was an undergrad too. But yeah, that's what I would say to that.
I agree though, even more networking with students. I wish I had more connections with the other students that I haven't had the opportunity to keep in touch with also, because it is a really small nutrition world and you'll be surprised at how much you cross paths with other people. And I do wish I had more connections too with my greater audience, my greater classmates.
And I will second the networking, especially with grad students. I think that's something that often goes missed. They're there in your classes, they have been through this before, they're here to support you, and they want to be able to have opportunities for you and think about you in the future. And I think a really great example of this, I'm going to really throw you out there, Alex, is Alex was my undergrad student when she was at URI. So like really getting to know them and working with them, I've known Alex for a really long time. Like she was at my wedding. I've been keeping track of all of these things that she's doing. So it's really another way for you to talk to someone. Maybe you're not as comfortable asking questions to a professor right away, and that grad student can be a really nice bridge to help you build even more stronger relationships that are going to last. And you never know where your grad students are going to end up. They can give you some really interesting job insights and volunteer opportunities. Definitely keep in touch with them. Okay, we've got about 10-ish minutes left, and I want to open it up to you. What questions do you have? You can unmute yourself or you can send them over in the chat. We'll be monitoring that. This is your chance to ask questions to people that are in the field. I know that's the thing that everyone really, really wants to know about. So please ask some questions.
If you guys want me, you guys want me to? I don't know if I can talk. Tell me.
Robin, we can hear, I know that you had said that your students had questions. Are there any that you want to share either in the chat or unmute?
I am asking them and I can cut and paste theirs into the chat, or you can hear me fine?
We can hear you.
Okay, I can kind of moderate. I wasn't sure how it would work because you're on the room computer and I'm on my own. Who wants to ask that question in person? I've been looking through your questions. I know a lot of them had gotten answered. As far as they had many for Alex, I saw many for Francesca, tons for Julia, but I feel like she did cover it. Is there any questions you feel like weren't covered? Be brave. Come on, Olivia.
Okay, so, wait, should I come up so you can?
You want to come up? Is it easier to hear if she comes closer? Because I think the speaker is behind me.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, so in class this year especially, we've been talking, or we've been doing a lot of like, kind of work with math, like we did this a lot first semester, like kind of like stoichiometry almost stuff, and you're like, make sure you know this well, because if you want to do kind of your own private practice, it's going to come up a lot and you need to have this kind of down well. Like, do you guys kind of experience any like problems with like all this paperwork and stuff? How have you had to kind of work through that? Like what maybe like little like tips that you have of getting through that? Because I'm not good at math and I would like to hear.
I think that's a question for all the panelists is how do you integrate math into your daily practice? Do you integrate math?
Yeah, is it
something we have to continue to worry about, I think?
does it come up often? Like, should I keep this in the back of my mind? Like, I need to practice this often.
Well, I'm in charge of a budget and I just use Excel and Google it and use a calculator. And there's also like if you're in a big company, there's resources and there's people that are really good at math, like the data people, and they're always open to help you. And someone mentioned like a good skill to just have. You're not going to know everything, but learning how to figure things out is I mean, it's crazy when you get a job in the real world, no one teaches you how to do your job. You really just need to figure it out. So, you know, any problem, math, anything that comes up, just knowing that, like, trusting yourself, like, I can figure this out, and using resources and working with people, other people who might be better at it, because I wouldn't say I'm necessarily really good at math. I'm in charge of a big budget, and I taught myself how to use Excel, and I actually wish I would have learned in school, and I didn't. And so, but I trusted myself. I was like, I know I can figure this out. And it took a while, but I did. And so just trust yourself, and you'll have the resources.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else want to ask a question in person?
I know that there are some questions in the chat box that I also kind of agree with.
Oh, okay. So you can, there's some questions in the chat box too that some of my students want to hear the answers to.
I see a question about bad grades, which I think is for me. So honestly, I went to therapy for it. It was serious because it was really bringing me down. And I, you know, my parents were really supportive too, which was very helpful. But I also have something in me where I know I can do anything. And so I knew it was going to happen. I knew I was going to be a dietitian. I knew I was going to be a dietitian for multiple professional sports teams. It was just a matter of when. And the frustrating thing is like, I mean, it was actually the day I passed the RD exam, I wasn't going to get the promotion for the head sports dietitian for the Chicago Cubs if I didn't pass that exam. That's very scary. Like, I don't want anyone to have to go through that. And I was really down on myself to like, why, you know, like, why is this holding me back? But everything does work out, and just having the trust in yourself. And it's, you know, you'll get something done, but it's not always going to be on your timeline, and just relinquishing that control. Everything does happen for a reason, as cheesy as it is. And I might not have gotten other things if my path went different. So just, you know, trusting like it will happen for you. And in the meantime, if whatever you're wanting to happen, like your good grades and passing exam isn't happening, there's other things you can focus on. And it's also a message to you of a skill you need to work on. And so just like not getting something, not getting the promotion, not getting the job, not getting the good grade, it's just a message, and read into the message and be like, okay, this is telling me I need to work on X, Y, and Z, and then go work on it.
I think I just want to add on to that like, you know, bad grades is like, in all honesty, like it's not like the end of the world. Like I promise you, like I've gotten like my fair share of like bad grades too. But you know, employers and like you know, if you're happening to like apply to grad school, like you like your grades don't define you. Also, it's not the sole thing that they look at. Like your GPA is not like the one thing that matters the most. Like it's super important, but like other things that you do also matter too. So like the research that I was mentioning, like any volunteer community work that you're doing, um, like things like that, like can also sort of like outweigh if you have like a lower GPA or something like that. So don't like, you know, like definitely like study and like try to get good grades, but don't worry too much about it.
And-
I see a question about a sports team, and is being on a large team hard to find correct diet plans to fit each player, especially while traveling? Also, for young players, what are some foods that help them stay away from injuries early on? That's a really great question. And that's actually why I wanted to switch. One of the reasons I wanted to switch to basketball, because baseball, there's so many athletes. And I felt like a big part of the job was managing people, because in baseball, you essentially have 250 athletes because you have major and minor league. And in basketball, you only have 17. And so it's easier to do a custom plan. The easiest way to do that is work with their private chefs, because they're preparing most of their meals, other than, and I pretty much prepare the other or plan the other 50%. But a big struggle is, especially, you know, some of our athletes are 19 years old. Like, that's crazy. They're 19 years old. And so they're literally just coming from their mom's house to us. And a big thing is they need to like the way the food tastes. And that's something that when I talk to other sports dietitians, there's some that are like, no, you're going to eat what I provide, and this is going to help your performance. And there's others that are like, oh, you want fried chicken? Have fried chicken. Like there's two spectrums. I would say I fall in the middle. I'm like, let's get like oven baked fried chicken and let's like meet halfway. Because here's the other thing. The most unnutritious thing is no food at all. So if they don't like what you eat, one, they're rich enough, they'll go buy their own food and it will be chicken fingers. And two, they need the food. So just finding that happy medium, and it's taken me a long time. Like I have this huge Excel spreadsheet of all these restaurants and I have so many notes on them all over America. And it's really like, you know, what the athletes like to eat, but that also I'm comfortable giving them before a game. And I find it, you know, but also with injuries, high protein salmon is really important for athletes. I really recommend they have fish 2 to 3 times a week. And but a well-balanced diet, half the plate vegetables, a quarter carb, a quarter protein is what I really recommend for every athlete.
Got a couple minutes left, but there's a question in the chat that I really love. Are there any jobs that you've had that you really didn't enjoy?
I saw this question and I wanted to jump on it, if it's okay. So there's one in grad school. I don't know if this is like a job, but it was like an internship that I did. I did not love it at all. So basically this position was in it sounds cool, but it was in a neuroscience lab. It was a nutrition and neuroscience lab. And basically it was all lab bench. And I had to do this position, I think it was for like 6 to 8 months or so because I needed it to graduate. But I'm using this as an example because it was something that I thought I really wanted to do. And then I actually ended up like, I mean, for lack of better words, like I hated it. I just didn't want to be on the lab bench anymore. Like it was like I was there for like it was like 9 to 10 hours a day because I had to run experiments and things like that. Um, and I really had to like channel like my like lab skills from undergrad. Um, and I it was just it was an interesting topic, but it was something that it was a learning curve for me that I was like, wow, this is actually something that I experienced, but I didn't want to do. And I'm glad that I learned that I didn't want to do it early on in my career because my trajectory, at least for grad school, you know, because I got my MS in biochemical and molecular nutrition, I thought I wanted to be in a lab for the rest of my life. Um, it makes me like even like more like happy that I did my MPH at the same time because now I realize that like I don't want to be in a lab bench anymore. Like I want to be out in the community. Like I want to be implementing and helping implement programs for communities in rural areas and things like that, which is a complete 180 of like, you know, kind of what I went to grad school for. But yeah, it was interesting.
Definitely another part of grad school or undergrad or internships or jobs that doesn't get talked about a lot is not everything is a perfect fit, and that is okay. You need to figure out what you like and what you don't like, and that's part of the whole experience. Nobody expects you to love and thrive in every situation. You got to try different things on to see what's going to be the best for you. Well, that brings us to the end of our time. I would say if anyone still has questions, I'm sure we could find a way to get them to Julia, Francesca, and Alex. And maybe if it's all right with them, we could share contact info. I'll have them reach out to Kristen if that's okay. But thank you so much for being here today. It's so nice to see alum and long-term friends and meet new people for this panel. I love hearing what people are doing with their degrees. So thank you for your time, and thank you to all of the students that hopped on today and got their questions answered. Thanks.
I agree. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all. It was excellent.
If it would be okay to share your contact info, just like let us know what the best would be. It's totally fine.